I didn't mean to become famous. 1 minute I'm sprinting through Gate 9 of the Port Helix Transit Hub, dodging a rolling luggage drone and a toddler-sized sanitation bot, and the next I'm being chased by a pair of armored customs officers with enough decorative tassels to qualify as a parade float. Behind them, a crowd of aliens is recording on holoslates, whispering the kind of whispers that somehow echo. "There goes the human," someone hissed. "The one who bonded a Vulpine." "Made thief," another shouted. I threw my hands up while running, like that made me innocent. "I didn't steal anybody. I'm not even qualified to keep a houseplant alive." A siren chirped overhead. A port speaker crackled in 3 languages, then settled on Galactic Standard with that annoyingly calm voice that always sounds like it's judging you. "Attention! Bonded caretaker unit detected in unauthorized departure corridor. Please return to your assigned dependent immediately." Assigned dependent. I swear, when the system says those words, they don't mean someone you helped once. They mean, congratulations, you are now legally responsible for a highly influential fox person who naps like a champion and has opinions about everything. I cut left around a kiosk selling vacuum-sealed algae snacks, clipped my shoulder on a pillar, and spotted the security line ahead. The line. Of course there was a line. Even when you're fleeing an interspecies misunderstanding, bureaucracy still expects you to queue. Someone in the crowd yelled, "Face your duties, human!" "I'm trying," I yelled back. "I just don't know what they are." That was the moment I realized I had to explain. Because if you don't tell the story first, people fill in the blanks themselves, and the galaxy has an imagination problem. So, rewind. Back to before I was public enemy number 1 for the crime of being accidentally responsible. My name is Adam. Not Captain Adam. Not Commander Adam. Not the human who claimed the Vulpine. Just Adam. I'm a cargo tech at Port Helix, which is a fancy way of saying I move boxes that other species refuse to touch, and I get paid in credits that disappear into rent, noodles, and the occasional repair bill for my ancient shuttle that coughs like it's trying to eject its own engine. I'm not brave. I'm not special. I'm the kind of guy who has 3 alarm clocks because I don't trust myself, and I once got a formal warning for using a forklift to win a race against a cleaning drone. But I do have one condition that's apparently rare out here. I can't walk past someone hurt and pretend it's not my business. That's how I met her. It was late shift. The port had that dim, tired glow, where the ceiling lights hum and the air smells like hot metal and recycled oxygen. I'd just finished logging a shipment of insulated plasma couplers. Don't ask, the paperwork alone could kill you, when the alarm tone changed. Not the fire alarm. Not the decompression alarm. The unauthorized impact alarm. That means something hit the station. Not enough to blow it apart, but enough to make the safety panels pop and the supervisors suddenly remember you exist. I followed the noise because my boss was nowhere to be found and, sadly, I have the curiosity of a stray cat. The impact point was in a maintenance corridor near the docking clamps. Half the lights were out. There was a scorch mark on the wall and a small wreck of something that looked like a one-person pod, crumpled like a crushed can. A faint hiss of coolant drifted into the air. And then I saw movement. She was wedged between the pod and the wall, trying to pull herself free with one arm. The other arm was pinned at a weird angle, and her leg, one leg, had a metal brace embedded into it like the pod had tried to claim her as a permanent accessory. She looked up at me with amber eyes that were sharp even through pain. Ears, furred and triangular, flattened for half a second like she was deciding whether I was danger or help. Fox-like, yeah, but not cute in the pet way. More like an assassin wearing elegance as armor. Her uniform was torn at the shoulder. There was a dark smear along her ribs. And because the universe hates me, the first thing my brain noticed was that her tail was very expressive. It flicked once, stiff, like a warning sign. "Don't move," I said automatically, stepping forward. She bared her teeth. "Human! Stop!" That made me stop, but only for a second. "You're bleeding." Her gaze sharpened. "State your intent." My intent is, you not dying in a hallway. I crouched slowly, palms open. I'm Adam. Cargo tech. Not a doctor, but I've had enough workplace injuries to recognize bad. Her breathing was controlled, too controlled, like someone who refused to lose dignity even if their organs were trying to resign. I am Saria of House Vera. I blinked. The name didn't mean anything to me at the time, which is one of my best qualities. Ignorance. If I'd known what it meant, I might have panicked earlier and saved myself several public humiliations. Okay, Saria, I said, keeping my voice calm. We need to get you out. Can you feel your legs? My left, she said, then paused like admitting weakness tasted bitter. My right is impaired. I peered at the brace and the twisted metal. Yeah. Impaired is a polite way to say it. Her ears twitched. You mock. I cope, I said, and grabbed my comm no signal. Of course. Port Helix has 500 languages and 10,000 regulations, but the maintenance corridors still have dead zones like it's charming. Saria watched me like I was a puzzle she didn't trust. Why are you still here? I stared. Because you're hurt. Injured dependents attract predators, she said flatly. Assistance is not common. That hit me in the soft parts. Well, welcome to humans, I muttered. We have this condition where we see someone bleeding and our brain goes, that's my problem now. It's horrible. Very inconvenient. Her tail flicked again, slower, confused. You speak as if it is instinct. Pretty much, I said. Now I'm going to move this metal. It will hurt. But leaving you in a hallway is worse. She held my gaze for a long moment, then gave a slight nod. Permission, in the most regal way possible. I used a tool from my belt, basic pry bar, and eased the brace free. She didn't scream. She didn't even gasp. She just went very still, pupils tightening, claws digging into the floor plating so hard they made faint scratches. When it was out, I slid my jacket under her shoulders. Okay. On 3. 1, 2. She stopped me with a hand on my wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Human, she said, voice quiet now. If you lift me, you accept responsibility. I blinked. Responsibility for helping you not die. Yes, she said, as if that was obvious. You will be my mate. I froze so hard my spine filed a complaint. What? She said it again, slower, like I was the one speaking in riddles. Mate. Bonded caretaker. You rescue. You claim. My face did something, probably the expression of a man watching his life fall into an open airlock. No. I'm not, I'm literally just a guy with a pry bar. Saria's ears tilted. Are you refusing? I'm refusing the word mate because where I come from that means. I stopped myself because explaining human definitions to an injured alien in a hallway felt like a great way to end up on a watch list. It means something different. She frowned like that was my fault. Your species uses a different term for bonded caretaker? We use responsible adult, I said weakly. Sometimes babysitter. Sometimes idiot who said yes. Her tail swayed once, thoughtful. Then you are that. I opened my mouth, closed it, then tried a different angle. Listen, Saria, I'm happy to help. But I'm not signing up for whatever your culture thinks this is. Saria shifted, winced, and still managed to look offended. It is not romantic. That should have been comforting. Somehow it wasn't. Not romantic, I repeated. Correct, she said, voice firm. You will provide shelter, food, medical care, and representation. You will ensure my safety. You will escort me publicly as required. You will respond to distress calls. You will sleep within reasonable proximity in case of emergency. I stared at her. That's a lot of words for not romantic. It is duty, she said simply. My brain tried to process the list and crashed halfway through. Representation. I can barely represent myself in a job interview. Saria's eyes narrowed. You asked if I could feel my legs? That is intimate caregiving. Among my people, it is bond significant. I exhaled hard. You are telling me that asking you if your legs work is basically a proposal. It is a claim of care, she corrected. I put my forehead briefly against the wall. Of course it is. Saria watched me, then spoke again, almost carefully. You may withdraw your claim if you do not lift me. But if you lift me, you accept. That is the law of my house. I stared down at her, at the blood on her side, at the way she was holding herself together with sheer stubbornness. My options were, leave her here because semantics, or help her because human. Fine, I said. Fine. I will lift you. I do not accept the word mate in the human sense. I accept responsibility in the not letting you die sense. Saria's ears rose slightly. Accepted. You can't just say accepted like you're a contract. I muttered. She looked at me like I'd just said something adorable. You speak much. It is endearing. I am not endearing, I said, lifting her carefully. I am panicking. She leaned against me, lighter than I expected, and for a second her tail brushed my arm. Not flirtatiously. More like a balance check. Still, my body reacted like it had been tapped with a live wire. The universe, again, hates me. We made it out to a med bay entrance where the signal returned. I called emergency support, and within minutes the staff rolled her onto a floating stretcher. I tried to step back and disappear into the wall like a good background character. That's when the medtech handed me a tablet. Bond registry, they said, bored. Dependent intake requires caretaker confirmation. I'm not. I started. Saria, lying on the stretcher, opened one eye and said calmly, He is my bonded caretaker. The medtech's gaze shifted to me, the way a clerk looks at someone who's pretending they didn't order the expensive thing. Thumbprint, please. I should have read the screen. I really should have read the screen. But I was tired, covered in coolant dust, and operating on the ancient human impulse of help first, panic later. I pressed my thumb to the sensor. The tablet chimed. The medtech nodded. All set. Saria's eyes softened, just a fraction. Thank you, Adam. I swallowed. Sure. You're welcome. Please don't call me your mate in public. Saria blinked slowly. In public is when it matters most. Before I could respond, the tablet flashed and my comm pinged with an official station alert. Caretaker status, active. Dependent, Saria Vera. Duration, indefinite. Failure to comply may result in civic penalties. I stared at the message until the letters blurred. Indefinite. I looked up at Saria, who was watching me like everything was perfectly normal. You did not read, she observed. I thought it was a discharge form, I said, voice hollow. Saria's tail, because she still had enough energy to be smug, gave the tiniest, most satisfied flick. It is, she said. You have discharged your duty into existence. And that's how my life became a legally binding misunderstanding with fur, titles, and paperwork. By the time Saria woke up fully, I'd already tried to cancel the bond 3 times. Attempt 1 was me walking up to the bond registry desk like a man approaching his own execution, sliding my comm across the counter, and saying, Hi! I signed something by accident. Can we undo it? The clerk wasn't even a person. It was an auto kiosk with a pleasant voice and the emotional range of a toaster. Bond termination requires mutual consent, a review period, a cultural liaison, and proof of non-dependence. It chirped. I can provide proof of non-dependence, I said. I'm barely dependent on myself. Please state your relationship category. Not romantic, I blurted. Understood. Relationship category, bonded caretaker. The kiosk screen flashed a little heart icon anyway, because the galaxy hates me personally. Attempt 2 involved me asking a human supervisor, which was my first mistake. He leaned back in his chair, smiled like he'd been waiting for the universe to finally make my life interesting, and said, Congrats, man. You pulled a Vulpine? I pulled a medical evacuation, I snapped. It's not that kind of. He held up his hand. Bro. I've seen the vids already. What vids? He turned his monitor so I could see it. A security feed clip. Me carrying Saria down the corridor, jacket under her, her head against my shoulder like a dramatic romance poster. The caption, in bold alien script, Human claims Vulpine noble. Bond sealed. Underneath, 10,000 comments, half of them thirsting, half of them outraged, and a suspicious number asking if humans come in. Tall, tired, and morally compromised. I rubbed my face. That's not. Listen, my supervisor said, still smiling. If she's noble, be careful. Nobles have rules. And families. And duels. I do not want a duel, I said, voice muffled through my palms. Attempt 3 was me trying to ignore the problem, which is my usual strategy. It failed in under an hour. My comm pinged with a new notification. Dependent discharged to caretaker housing. Assigned unit 7C, level 12. Delivery time 19 minutes. Caretaker presence required. Caretaker housing. I lived in a rented pod the size of a fridge with delusions of grandeur. I did not have caretaker housing. Unless the Port Authority had decided my life needed more plot. I hustled to level 12 like a man trying to outrun fate, and arrived at Unit 7C just as a med shuttle docked at the hallway airlock. 2 attendants floated Saria out on a hover gurney, tail neatly folded, ears alert despite the bandages. She looked cleaner. The med bay had washed the blood off her fur, which was an unfair improvement. It made her look less like a crisis and more like a very regal problem. The attendants glanced at me, then at each other, then back at me with that expression people get when they're witnessing a legendary disaster in real time. Caretaker Adam? One asked. That's not my job title, I muttered. It is now, the other said, and they rolled Saria right into my unit. My unit. I stared as she passed my doorway, as if she owned the floor, the station, and my last shred of independence. The med attendant tapped a panel. Unit upgraded per dependent status. You have been allocated expanded space, emergency reserves, dietary credits, and cultural compliance materials. The walls shifted. Literally shifted. Panels retracted. A second room unfolded like the station had been saving it for someone with better social skills. The kitchenette doubled. A sleeping alcove expanded. A small lounge appeared with a couch I did not deserve. I blinked hard. Why do I suddenly have more square footage? Bonded caretakers must provide appropriate shelter, the attendant said, like it was in the manual. I watched them leave, then watched the door seal behind them with a soft hiss that sounded like destiny laughing. Saria lifted her chin. Acceptable. You're raiding my home, I said. It is your duty to house me, she replied, perfectly calm. You did well. I stared. I did well? I didn't even know I was auditioning. She slid off the gurney with careful control, testing her leg. The brace had been replaced with a sleek medical support. She was still in pain, but she carried it like an accessory. I will require nourishment, she said. Of course you will, I muttered, and turned toward the kitchenette. What do Vulpines eat? Saria paused. Food. Very helpful, I said. Any preferences? Allergies? Do you explode if you consume gluten? Because that would be a huge inconvenience. Her ears angled toward me. I do not explode. Good start. I opened the station pantry interface. It offered nutrient paste in 17 flavors and a wide selection of ethnic comfort meals that looked suspiciously like marketing had invented them. I picked something labeled human stew, traditional, and prayed it wouldn't taste like regret. While it heated, Saria walked the unit, touching the walls, noting exit points, scanning the window. Like a soldier assessing a bunker. You're treating my apartment like a combat zone, I said. It is, she replied. I laughed once sharp. You're joking. I am not, she said, matter of fact. Someone attempted to remove me from the med bay records. They failed. That means they will attempt again. That made my stomach do a slow, unhappy drop. Who? Rivals, she said. Interests. Politics. I'm a cargo tech, I said. The most political thing I do is complain about loading schedules. Saria looked at me, eyes steady. Now you are involved. Great. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. An interstellar political problem and a roommate with claws. The food beeped. I brought it over, set it on the table, and watched her sniff it. This smells, she began. Like a mistake? I offered. Like home, she finished, surprising me. I blinked. You've had human stew before? No, she said, then took a bite and froze. Her tail stiffened. Ears twitched. Eyes widened just slightly. I leaned forward. Bad? She swallowed slowly. This is intense. Meaning? It tastes like you made a decision and regret it, she said solemnly, then took another bite. I barked a laugh. That's called seasoning. She continued eating with the seriousness of someone performing diplomacy through chewing. I watched her, half amused, half something else. She was so different from everyone else on this station. Most species hid emotions behind etiquette. She didn't hide. She structured them. When she finished, she set the bowl down precisely. Now we must formalize. My shoulders tensed. We already formalized. That's the problem. Saria reached into a satchel and produced a small, folded cloth with a symbol stitched into it. She laid it on the table like it was sacred. What is that? I asked carefully, because my life had become a series of objects I didn't want to understand. Caretaker sash, she said. You must wear it in public to signal our bond. I stared at it. It was tasteful. Dark fabric, silver embroidery. Unfortunately, it also screamed, this man has a dependent, and he knows things. I'm not wearing a sash, I said. Saria's ears dipped. Why? Because I'm not a pageant winner, I said. Because I move boxes for a living. Because if I show up at work wearing a caretaker sash, I will be eaten alive by gossip. Gossip is irrelevant, she said. Gossip is the currency of Port Helix, I said. It is more powerful than credits. Saria studied me, then said, Very well. I will wear it. That's not better. She stood, slipped it over her shoulder, and the symbol caught the light like it was designed to do exactly that. Then she looked at me with calm certainty. Now we travel, she said. No, I said immediately. No travel. You just got discharged. You need rest. I need to register our bond publicly, she countered. It will deter rivals. I blinked. So your plan is to protect yourself by making sure everyone knows you're attached to the least intimidating human on the station? You are not least intimidating, she said, and her eyes softened slightly. You rescued me. I rescued you with a pry bar, I reminded her. Exactly, she said, like that proved her point. 20 minutes later, I was standing outside the transit hub with Saria at my side, trying to look like a normal person and failing. We took one step into the crowd and heads turned. Ears perked. Feathers ruffled. Eye stalks swiveled. A hush rippled like someone had thrown a stone into a pond full of judgment. A pair of tall insectoid merchants stared openly. One whispered something to the other, and the other's mandibles clicked in what I assumed was scandal. Saria stood straighter. I stood smaller. A transit attendant approached, chirping brightly. Bonded pair priority lane. Right this way. I'm not. I started. Saria stepped forward, calm as a queen. Yes. The attendant led us to a lane marked with a symbol that looked suspiciously like that little heart icon from the kiosk. I stopped. We can use the normal lane. The attendant looked at me like I'd offered to lick the floor. But you are bonded. Saria's tail flicked once. He is modest. I am desperate, I hissed. We entered the capsule transit pod and the door sealed. The moment it did, the seat layout shifted. 2 seats became one large cushioned bench, too close, with an armrest that basically forced shared space. I stared at it. Why is it doing that? Saria sat without hesitation. Bonded seating improves comfort. I do not want improved comfort, I said, sitting on the far edge like the bench had teeth. The pod began moving, gliding along its rail. Saria looked at me, head tilted. You are anxious, she observed. I'm not anxious, I lied. I'm pre-humiliated. She blinked. Is that a human emotion? It's a lifestyle, I said. The pod stopped at the registry plaza, which was full of kiosks, attendants, and an alarming number of decorative arches. Everything about it screamed ceremonial. Which is never good when you're trying to keep your life unceremonial. We stepped out and immediately got approached by a hovering camera drone. Bonded caretakers, it chirped. Would you like to share your bond story for Port Helix tonight? No, I said. Yes, Saria said at the same time. I turned. Why did you say yes? Public affirmation strengthens legitimacy, she said. It strengthens my incoming headache, I muttered. The drone hovered closer. Caretaker Adam, how did you claim your Vulpine dependent? I didn't claim, I began. Saria cut in smoothly. He found me injured. He sheltered me with his own garment. He carried me from danger. He accepted duty without hesitation. The drone's lens whirred. Ah! The crowd nearby made delighted noises. Delighted. At my suffering. I tried to salvage it. It was a medical emergency. The drone beeped. Humans are so passionate. I am not passionate, I said. I am tired. Saria looked at me, and in the softest voice she'd used yet, she said, He is also loyal. The drone practically vibrated with excitement. Port Helix tonight will love this. It zipped away before I could tackle it. I stared after it in horror. I'm going to be on the news. Saria looked pleased. Good. Rivals will see. Rivals will see and laugh, I said. We reached the main registry kiosk. It scanned Saria, then scanned me, then projected a list of caretaker responsibilities. So long it needed to scroll. Bonded caretaker must provide housing, nutrition, medical oversight, escort to official events, emotional stability support, cultural compliance, and… I leaned in, squinting. Why does it say ceremonial cuddling? Saria's ears perked like she'd been waiting for this. Ah. Yes. No, I said. Yes, she said. I stabbed a finger at the line. Define ceremonial. It is not romantic, she assured me immediately. That's not an answer. Saria spoke as if explaining tax law. In my culture, a dependent must be physically reassured in moments of distress. It prevents panic spirals. The caretaker provides a steady presence. So, hugging, I said, skeptical. Yes, she said. That's fine, I said quickly, then the kiosk scrolled further. Requirement includes proximity resting. I stared. And that? Saria's tail flicked once. You must sleep near me in case of emergency. Near means what? I asked, already regretting the question. Within reach, she said. I froze. Within reach of what? Assistance, she said, as if I were being dense on purpose. I pointed at the kiosk again. This is absolutely going to get misinterpreted. Saria's expression turned faintly smug. Ben, do not misinterpret it. I made a strangled noise. You know what? Fine. I'll sleep on the couch. You take the sleeping alcove. No reaching. Saria studied me like she was assessing a battlefield. Acceptable compromise. The kiosk chirped. Bond confirmation requires public display of caretaker assurance. A small curtained alcove opened beside it, with a soft padded bench and a sign in multiple languages that read, Affirmation Booth. I stared at the booth. Then at Saria. Then back at the booth. No, I whispered. Yes, Saria said, already stepping toward it. I grabbed her arm gently. What is an affirmation booth? It is where you prove you are capable, she said. Capable of what? I asked, voice tight. Comfort, she said. Behind us, someone in line whispered, Oh, the booth. Another voice. The human is blushing. I was not blushing. I was overheating from panic. Saria looked at me with absolute seriousness. Adam, if you do not affirm, the registry may flag you as unreliable. That will invite rivals. I stared at her, then at the watching crowd, then at the booth. My life had become a choice between being embarrassed or being hunted. I exhaled. Fine. We do your comfort proof. Saria nodded, satisfied, and guided me into the booth. The curtain fell. The bench was too soft. The air smelled like calming pheromones, which should be illegal. A small speaker chirped. Please provide caretaker reassurance. Duration 10 seconds. I turned to Saria. This is ridiculous. Saria's ears softened. You are safe, she said quietly, then she leaned in, not seductively, but with trust. Like someone who'd decided you were their anchor. I hesitated, then put an arm around her shoulders, careful of her injury. She relaxed visibly, exhaling, tail loosening. It wasn't romantic. It was human. Comforting someone because they needed it. The speaker counted down. 10 seconds. 9. 8. Outside, the muffled crowd made delighted noises like they were watching a romance scene. I wanted to die. 7. 6. 5. Saria murmured, so only I could hear. Your heart is loud. That's because I'm having an anxiety marathon. I whispered back. 4. 3. 2. The speaker chirped. Affirmation complete. Bond legitimacy increased. The curtain rose. The line erupted into whispers, cheers, and scandalized laughter. Someone actually applauded. A camera flashed. I stepped out like a man leaving an interrogation room. Saria looked calm, almost serene. I leaned in and hissed. You just used me as a political shield. Saria's tail flicked once. You agreed. I agreed under duress, I said. Saria looked at me, eyes bright with something that wasn't quite amusement, but close. Humans are very dramatic. I stared at her. You literally made me hug you in a booth. That is called bonding, she said. That is called a misunderstanding with upholstery. I snapped. And then my comm pinged again. Official invitation, House Vera cultural reception. Role, bonded caretaker escort. Dress code, formal. Declining may be considered insult. I read it twice, hoping the words would change. Saria peered at my comm, then nodded as if it were inevitable. We will attend. I looked at her, then at the crowd, then at the universe. This, I said, voice thin, is going to ruin my life. Saria's ears lifted, calm and unwavering. No, she said. It will change it. That was when the plaza doors opened and a tall figure entered with a procession behind him, wearing the kind of robes that meant money, power, and the ability to make your problems become crimes. He spotted Saria. Then he spotted me. He stopped. He bowed, actually bowed, and the entire plaza went silent. Caretaker Adam, he said, voice formal, loud enough for everyone to hear. By claiming Saria of House Vera, you have made yourself significant. I felt every eye in the plaza turn to me like a spotlight. I swallowed. And in the back of my mind, a tiny, exhausted part of me whispered, I am so unbelievably screwed. By the time the bowing stopped, I had aged emotionally about 10 years. The tall robed figure straightened, his entourage fanning out behind him in perfect formation. Saria's posture shifted instantly, subtle, but unmistakable. She wasn't just alert anymore. She was formal. Regal. Dangerous. I leaned toward her and whispered, Why is he bowing to me like I own a moon? He acknowledges your authority, she replied. I have authority over instant noodles, I said. That's it. The man stepped closer. His eyes were sharp, calculating. Not hostile, worse. Curious. You are human, he said. Yes, I replied. And you claimed Saria of House Vera? No, I said. Yes, Saria said at the same time. I closed my eyes. This is my life now. He smiled faintly. I am Lord Crethus. You have altered several negotiations by existing. That's a talent of mine, I muttered. Saria straightened. Lord Crethus, Adam is my bonded caretaker. Any attempt to separate us violates House Vera's protection statutes. Crethus studied me, head tilted. You look ordinary. Thank you, I said. Why did you claim her? I opened my mouth. Then closed it. Then said the truth. She was hurt. The pause that followed was not comedic. It was heavy. Crethus's gaze sharpened. That is not a political answer. It's the only one I've got, I said. A murmur rippled through the entourage. Crethus exhaled slowly. Fascinating. I hate that word. It's what powerful people say when they're about to turn you into a case study. He nodded once. We will speak again, Caretaker Adam. I really wish you wouldn't, I said. He turned and left, his procession flowing behind him like a living tapestry. The plaza slowly exhaled. Saria looked at me, eyes searching. You were honest, she said. I'm always honest, I replied. It's my worst trait. We walked back toward the transit pods, the crowd parting around us like we were contagious. Which, socially, I was. You're important now, I muttered. I was important before, she said. Now you are involved. That's not comforting. Back in the pod, I finally slumped, rubbing my face. You didn't tell me you were royalty. She tilted her head. You did not ask. People usually disclose that before you accidentally adopt them, I said. I am not adopted, she replied. Don't test me, I said. The pod hummed as it moved. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then Saria said quietly, You do not treat me differently. I glanced at her. Should I? No, she said. That is why this works. I snorted. This is not working. She studied me. You are distressed. I am one bad day away from hiding in a cargo crate and legally changing my name, I said. That is avoidance, she said. That is survival, I countered. When we reached the unit, I kicked off my boots, dropped onto the couch, and stared at the ceiling. I don't know how to do this, I said. Whatever this is. Saria approached slowly, then sat beside me, careful of her injury. She did not touch me. Just existed. That is acceptable, she said. I'm serious, I said. You have enemies. Politics. Rituals. I barely remember to drink water. She looked at me. You remembered to help me. That was instinct, I said. She nodded. So is bonding. I frowned. That's not. She held up a hand. Not romantic, she said calmly. I know. I exhaled. Thank you? She paused. But it can become that if we choose. I choked on air. Nope. Too much. Too soon. She smiled faintly. Humans are very loud internally. Do you hear my thoughts? I demanded. No, she said. But your face narrates. I groaned. Later that night I learned two things. 1. Vulpines do not sleep the way humans do. 2. Proximity resting is a scam. I was on the couch. She was in the alcove. Or so I thought. I woke up at 3:17 a.m. with the distinct sensation of being stared at. I cracked one eye. Saria was standing beside the couch, tail gently swaying, eyes bright. I yelped. She flinched. You are awake. Yes, I said, heart pounding. Because you were looming. You were breathing irregularly, she said. That's called sleeping. I snapped. She frowned. It sounded like distress. It was snoring, I said. She considered this. Humans produce distress noises while resting. Emotionally and physically. I agreed. She stepped closer. You must move closer. No, I said. Yes, she said. No, I repeated. You must be within reach, she said. I am within reach of a panic attack, I replied. She knelt carefully. You misunderstand. Proximity resting does not require physical contact. I narrowed my eyes. Then why does the registry describe it like that? Because most species interpret it differently, she said. For Vulpines, it means shared vigilance. So, you're guarding me, I said. Yes, she said. That is, the opposite of what I expected. She settled on the floor beside the couch, back against it, tail curled. Like a sentry. I stared. You're serious. Extremely, she said. I hesitated, then slowly lay back. If you bite anyone who breaks in, I will be grateful and slightly alarmed. I will bite them with honor, she said. I laughed despite myself. The next morning, my comm exploded. Messages. Notifications. Pings. Port Helix tonight. Caretaker interview clip goes viral. Human bonds noble Vulpine, love or politics? Is human empathy a galactic threat? I groaned. They called empathy a threat. Saria leaned over my shoulder reading. That is accurate. It is not, I said. It disrupts established power structures, she said. Empathy creates unpredictable loyalty. I stared at her. You make kindness sound terrifying. It is, she said. I had to go to work. That was non-negotiable, according to my supervisor, who had left me 27 voice messages ranging from amused to concerned to deeply entertained. Saria insisted on coming. Absolutely not, I said. Yes, she said. No, I said. You are my caretaker, she said. That doesn't mean you shadow me like a dramatic bodyguard, I said. It does, she said. She wore the sash. I begged her not to. She said it was culturally required. We compromised. She wore it under a jacket. Everyone still knew. The loading bay went silent when we entered. Forklifts paused mid-lift. Drones hovered. My coworker Jack stared. Is that her? Don't, I warned. That's her, he whispered, eyes wide. Dude! You are trending. I want to be blending, I said. Saria looked around, curious. This is your territory. It's a warehouse, I said. We stack things. She watched a forklift move a crate. You move worlds, she said. It's full of socks, I said. That does not diminish the feat, she said. A group of dockworkers gathered, pretending not to stare. One of them leaned over. So, how do you do it? Do what? I said. Bond a Vulpine, he said. I pointed at Saria. She crashed. Saria nodded. Dramatically. I glared. They laughed. Someone clapped me on the shoulder. Legend. I cringed. Then the trouble started. A group of sleek, uniformed aliens entered the bay. Not station security. Private. Saria stiffened. These are not authorities, she said quietly. My stomach dropped. Friends of yours? Opponents, she corrected. They approached. Lady Saria, one said smoothly. You must return with us. No, she said. Their eyes shifted to me. And you must release her. No, I said, surprising myself. The alien tilted his head. You are human. Yes, I said. You do not understand what you interfere with. Correct, I said. But I'm consistent. He stepped closer. You are not equipped to protect her. I looked at him, then at the forklift behind him, then at the safety harness in my hand. You'd be surprised what humans do when they're outmatched, I said. Saria touched my arm. Adam. I clipped the harness around the crate. Hit the controls. The crate lifted. The aliens froze. What are you doing? One demanded. Improvising, I said, and swung the crate, not at them, but in front of them, blocking their path. Workers scattered. Alarms chirped. Station security has been alerted. I lied. They hesitated. Saria stared at me. What? I said. Humans lie. The lead alien hissed softly. This is not over. No, I agreed. It never is. They retreated. The bay erupted into noise again. Jack stared at me. You just threatened nobles with socks. I told you, I said. I move worlds. Saria looked at me, eyes shining. You defended me, she said. That's kind of the whole caretaker thing, I said. No, she said softly. You chose to. That hit harder than I expected. Later, as we sat in the unit, adrenaline fading, I realized something. This wasn't a joke anymore. Not fully. She was in danger. And somehow, against all logic, I was standing between her and that danger. You're going to get hurt because of me, I said. She shook her head. No. You will become stronger. I don't want to be stronger, I said. I want to be normal. She met my gaze. Humans confuse normal with safe. I exhaled. You really are going to ruin my emotional stability. That is also my duty, she said. I laughed, despite myself. Then my comm pinged. House Vera reception confirmed. Caretaker escort required. Security level, high. I stared at the message. They're escalating, I said. Saria nodded. So are you. I looked at her. I am absolutely not ready for this. She placed her hand over mine, firm, grounding. You do not have to be ready, she said. You only have to stay. I swallowed. And for the first time since this disaster began, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't running. I stood in front of the mirror and tried to figure out when my life had gone off the rails. The suit wasn't mine. It was station-issued formal wear, tailored automatically after Saria scanned me and said, He must appear competent. I looked like someone who had opinions about wine. I did not. Saria emerged from the alcove a moment later, dressed in layered ceremonial fabric that shimmered softly, her sash visible, her posture composed. She looked dangerous in a beautiful way. Like a blade wrapped in silk. You look formal, I said. You look nervous, she replied. That's because I am, I said. We're about to walk into a room full of powerful aliens who think I own you. You do not own me, she said. They don't know that, I muttered. We boarded the transport. Security drones flanked us. The ride was silent, heavy with implication. Why is this reception such a big deal? I asked. Saria folded her hands. My house has enemies. Allies. Rivals. This gathering is meant to observe you. Observe me doing what? I said. Standing? Deciding, she said. That's vague and threatening. She tilted her head. Most important things are. The hall was massive. Open. Elegant. Everyone inside looked expensive. Conversation paused when we entered. Not dramatically, worse. Subtly. Like a ripple. Like everyone suddenly became aware of a variable. Eyes tracked us. Saria's hand brushed mine. Not clinging. Just present. Do not let them intimidate you, she murmured. I'm intimidated by vending machines, I said. She smiled faintly. We moved through clusters of nobles, diplomats, political sharks dressed in fabrics that cost more than my entire education. People bowed to Saria. Some nodded at me. Some looked confused. Some looked offended. A tall woman with glowing eyes approached. You are the human, I sighed. Unfortunately. Saria stiffened. Lady Vorex. Vorex's gaze pinned me. You claimed a Vera. No, I said. I helped an injured person. The woman smiled slowly. Those are not the same thing. They should be, I said. Murmurs rippled. Vorex tilted her head. Your species is naive. Correct, I said. But we're consistent. She laughed softly. Do you understand what you've entangled yourself in? I understand that people keep asking me that, I said. And nobody answers. She leaned closer. You are leverage. I felt Saria's grip tighten. She is not a weapon, I said. Vorex blinked. What? She's not a token. She's not leverage. She's a person, I said. And if your politics depend on treating people like tools, maybe that's the problem. Silence. Saria stared at me. Vorex studied me like I was an alien. How quaint, she said. I get that a lot, I replied. She stepped back. This will be interesting. She vanished into the crowd. I exhaled. Saria looked at me, eyes bright. You challenge them. I offend them, I corrected. They are similar actions, she said. We were guided toward a raised platform. My stomach dropped. Why are there stairs? I whispered. Because you will speak, Saria replied. I will what? Speak. No. Yes. Absolutely not. You must, she said. Why? Because they need to understand you, she said. They don't, I said. They need to leave us alone. That will not happen, she said gently. We reached the platform. A hush fell. Someone announced us. I didn't hear the words. My brain was busy screaming. I leaned toward Saria. I cannot do this. You already are, she said. A microphone extended. I stared at it. Then at the crowd. Then at Saria. And something in me snapped. Not loudly. Not heroically. Just quietly. I was tired. Tired of being confused. Tired of being watched. Tired of people treating kindness like a flaw. I stepped forward. My name is Adam, I said. A few nobles blinked. No titles. No flourish. I work in cargo, I continued. I move boxes. I eat cheap noodles. I lose my keys twice a week. I am not important. Some murmurs. I didn't claim Saria, I said. I found her hurt. I helped. That's it. That's not how the galaxy works, someone said. Then the galaxy's wrong, I replied. Gasps. Saria inhaled sharply. You're all treating this like a strategy, I said. Like a move on a board. But I didn't choose her because she's powerful. I didn't even know she was. I chose because she was bleeding. Silence. That's how humans work, I said. We don't optimize. We react. We help. Sometimes we mess up. Sometimes we misunderstand. But we don't leave people on the floor because it's inconvenient. I looked around. You're afraid of that, I said. Because it means loyalty can't be bought. It means bonds can form without permission. Some faces hardened. Some softened. Saria's eyes glistened. She doesn't belong to me, I said. And I don't belong to her. But I will stand with her because I chose to. Not because a law says so. Because I want to. The hall was deathly quiet. And if that disrupts your politics, I finished. Good. I stepped back. My hands were shaking. Saria stared at me like I'd just rewritten her understanding of gravity. Then someone laughed. Not mocking. A single, startled laugh. Then another. Then applause. Slow at first. Then growing. Not everyone clapped. But enough. Lord Crethus stepped forward. You challenge the foundation of interstellar bonding, he said. Maybe it needs challenging, I replied. He studied me. Then Saria. You are dangerous, he said. Yeah, I muttered. I've been told. He inclined his head. You may choose the terms of your bond, he said. Saria's breath caught. What? I said. House Vera law allows redefinition, he said. If both parties consent. Saria turned to me. Her voice was soft. In my culture, I was bound by duty. Now, I may choose. I swallowed. Choose what? She stepped closer. My people believed care was obligation, she said. You showed me it can be voluntary. She lifted her chin. So I choose your meaning. The hall collectively inhaled. I choose you, she said. My brain short-circuited. Wait, I said. Like, romantically? She nodded. If you wish. I stared at her. This is a terrible time for my emotional system to collapse. She smiled. Humans collapse frequently. I laughed weakly. You don't understand. I panic when baristas ask me what size I want. She took my hands. Then I will choose patiently. The crowd was whispering furiously. You don't have to, I said. You don't know me anything. I know, she said. That is why I choose it. My chest felt tight. Okay, I said. Okay. But slow. Very slow. Like, learning to walk in low gravity slow. She nodded. Acceptable. Then I remembered something. I pulled up the bond contract. Scrolled. Scrolled more. Wait, I said. Wait. Saria frowned. What is it? I pointed. It still says caretaker duties apply. Yes, she said. And this line? I said. It says nutritional provision, permanent. Yes. And emotional reassurance, lifelong. Yes. And why does it say ceremonial cuddling, flexible but recurring? She tilted her head. You agreed. I didn't read, I said. She smiled. The crowd burst into laughter. Creethus chuckled. Human, you have rewritten our expectations. I just wanted to go back to my apartment, I said. Saria leaned into me slightly. This is your apartment now, she said. I groaned. I'm never going to be normal again. She looked at me. Normal is small. I looked at her. Then at the hall. Then at the universe. You ruined my life, I said. She smiled. I improved it. We returned home hours later. I collapsed onto the couch. Saria sat beside me. You were brave, she said. I was terrified, I replied. Yes, she said. That is bravery. I stared at the ceiling. So, what now? Now, she said. We learn. About what? Each other, she said. I glanced at her. You still owe me several explanations. I will provide them, she said. Good, I muttered. Start with why everyone thinks hugging is scandalous. She smiled innocently. Later that night, she sat beside the couch again. You do not need to sleep on the couch anymore, she said. I froze. Define that. She gestured to the alcove. The bed is large. I stared. This is moving too fast. She nodded. Then we will sit. We sat. Not touching. Just close. Quiet. And for the first time since this whole disaster began, I didn't feel like running. I felt, here. My comm pinged. New status, interspecies bond, voluntary. Classification, unprecedented. Impact, galactic. I laughed. Of course it was. I leaned back. I wanted a quiet life. Saria rested her head against my shoulder. You chose a human one, she said. I sighed. And against all logic I smiled.